Anybody got some wins that they want to share?
Yeah, definitely.
I launched my Facebook ads campaign in a couple hours.
Awesome. Is
That's
this
Nice.
yeah,
is it your
Paid
first
ads,
one
baby.
or
exactly. What's that?
is it your first one or
Yeah,
just
first time ever for
awesome, man?
B2B.
Jonathan, tell us, because I was talking with Jonathan yesterday. Tell us a bit about how you're working with SaaS, because I like how creative Jonathan is. A lot of people go for local businesses. I know Liam's going for e-commerce, ballsy move on Liam's end. Jonathan, like, tell us a little bit about how you're like going for SaaS and everything, and that's creative. I like what you're doing.
Thanks, man. I'm going for SaaS because I was looking at all the options available, right? And I wanted to put myself in the best boat possible. And because I live in Boston most of the year, I'm really surrounded by all the tech startups, right? And a lot of my friends are founders of SaaS companies. So I'm like, there's so much hype around there, and there's so much money's being dumped into it that I'm like, hey, maybe I could help these people and make shitloads of money on the side from that. That's why I chose that.
Exactly. I like the creativity there. And if everybody turns on their cameras, like, that's obviously that we prefer that, because then we can actually see you and it's more interactive, more face to face. I'm gonna put one last reminder in the chat and then we're gonna get started. Let's see.
Guys, what niches are you in, by the way?
You asking me and Will or everybody?
Like everybody. What niches are you guys in?
Drop it in
I'm
the
in
chat.
auto detailing.
I'm in dental.
Roofing.
Bit of real estate, bro. Trying it.
Yeah. All right. I dropped that in the chat. I think this is probably what I'm guessing we're going to be sitting at. So we can get started. I'm just going to give you guys an overview of how the call is kind of going to go. And we want this to be an especially interactive call. So if there's something where you guys are like, hey, let's like emphasize more time on this, and it's like, it's a popular idea, we're more than happy to do that, because we're just trying to provide as much value as possible. So the first thing we're going to do is, as I mentioned, the goal of this is to be interactive, right? So I want you guys with a Google Doc open, writing out these scripts as we go through. We're going to cover psychology of each script, and we're also going to give some examples of what it might look like for a niche generally. And then that way you can apply that to your niche. If you have questions, you put them in the chat or raise your hand. Honestly, you can raise your hand because we have like a pretty tight knit group here right now. And we'll answer those. And then at the end, we'll go through like a completed script for one of you and say, hey, like, this is what I would change. This is what Will would change. We're going to do that for DMs and for email and for cold calling, and then for calling leads. So that's whether they're generated through DM, email, whatever, how to take those leads and intro them and then move them to a demo, which is all things that I think sometimes aren't covered enough, especially the calling leads part. That can be a little tricky. But yeah, we'll be covering like the technical side of that as well as the psychology behind it. Then if you guys want to do some like role playing between people on the call, we could have a few people do, you know, a cold call with each other. One person plays a prospect, one person plays a salesman essentially. And then
Guys, he's ready.
I think Smith, you might you're yeah, okay. And then after that, we'll do Q&A. Any specific questions you guys have, or any broader questions, whether that's mindset, how you can balance work and life, like all the different questions. Like, I mean, obviously, Will and I both have very busy agencies and are also in college. So there's like, I think a lot of you guys can relate to that with like school plus work plus trying to juggle a million things, right? So does that sound good with you? That sounds good. Drop a 1 and we'll get going. Fire. All right.
Recording.
All right, perfect. So let's start off with going through email script. So everybody just open up a Google Doc for yourself. And we're gonna write some emails together. Will, do you want to kind of start by covering both spin tax as well as the importance of like deliverability, like the different settings, just before we even start writing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing to note down is that Instantly AI is the gold standard for cold email right now. So everything I'm going to be speaking out will be in reference to how you would be setting it up and using it on instantly.ai. So the reason deliverability is important is because we are using Gmails, and Google doesn't really like cold emails, and you don't have that great of a deliverability rate to start with. So pretty much what we're doing is we do this thing called spin tax, and pretty much it just is you creating very of the same line and just saying it in a different way. And the whole point that we do this is it gives you more variability in the emails that you're sending, because if you send the same email out over and over and over, Google's going to catch on. It's going to be like, well, he's sending the same thing, he's probably just spamming. But if it's sending out different lines for everything in different subject lines, it's going to be, okay, these are different emails, he's not trying to sell something. So that is why spin tax is very important. And then deliverability, what we do is we don't track open rates. We typically go off of reply rates, because open rates, when you track those with a Gmail, you're using Google's custom tracking domain. And, you know, everybody who tries to be the Prince of Africa and steal money from your grandma, your deliverability is getting attached to that. So pretty much everything we're doing is getting based off of just like a 1% reply rate. That's how you know you're getting into enough inboxes. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. And then next thing is just diving into a little bit of psychology of it. Cold email, it's just a battle of one more. It's to get the prospect to do one more thing. The whole point of your subject is just to get them to open the email. The point of your first line, your hook, is to get them to read the next and read the next, and your call to action, like, it has to be interesting enough for them to reply yes. Is this making sense?
Drop a
Yeah.
one if you guys are following along.
Okay, cool. And that's just very high level. There's some small things that we can get into, but I think just diving into the subject line first and starting there, this is something that should be attention grabbing while relating to what you're talking about. So I can go ahead, and if you want me to name off examples for different niches, or if some unmute and drop some ideas, and we can kind of brainstorm from there.
Yeah, Will, I want you to give like 1 or 2 examples. Let's just use roofing, but I'm just gonna, before that, the psychology, a few things you can do, like in the subject line is, one, you don't want to be overly misleading, because if you are, they're gonna open it and they're gonna be like, fuck this guy, he just completely lied to me and said, hey, I want to pay you for a roof replacement, and then he's trying to sell me something. You don't want them to be pissed at you, but you also want them to be curious. So you can't say, do you need marketing help? Would you like to work with a marketing agency? Because they're going to put you in spam instantly without opening it. So you want to be intentionally calling them out, preferably the head of the company, if there's like a term for that. I know, like, you know, lead doctor, lead practitioner for, like, you know, potentially Kairos or something. And then you could just say owner sometimes. If you're specifically calling the owner out, like, they're more likely to open it and read it themselves, right? But Will, do you want to put a few examples of what like a good subject line could look like?
Yeah, so there's like pretty much like your standard. You could just do like quick question, roofing installation. Like, if you're trying to talk about getting them more roofing installations in your script, that's not going to be really a big thing. But you can also go a little bit more on the curiosity side, like, I'm not sure if this is for you, ... And then, you know, things like that. Do those two help, or do we need some more examples?
You got-
I do want to say no emojis. It comes off as corporate and like ad-like, so beware, guys.
Yeah, smart. Good.
What about like how many words in the subject line?
I mean, preferably not going over to the point they can't read the whole thing. And but I would there's not like a gold standard of how many words. It's just how interesting is it? Is somebody going to click on this? Is somebody going to open it? One test that I always do, I'm like, if I got an email that said this, would I open it? And if the answer is no, it's probably not a good subject line.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I would say preferably, I mean, sometimes having a longer subject line, they can like they'll look into it more and they'll take it more seriously.
Can you chill here for a little bit?
Sorry, what, Smith? Okay. So yeah, Smith, I can't tell if you were saying something or if you just unmuted by accident. Okay, okay. Yeah, where was I? Okay, subject line. If it's long, sometimes they can take it a little more seriously and be like, what are they talking about? And then they'll open it. You're good, Smith. But a short one that they can get the full effect really quickly just by a glance, 5 words, it also leaves a bit to their imagination. So that's something to keep in mind. So for example, one thing that I think me and or William and I kind of go with, that we go with pretty often is like question and then like a popular service. So for example, for William, who's in dental, as I'm sure a lot of you know, it could be like question all on 4 patients, or for like roofing, question, roof installation, roof replacement, something like that. Because if they see that it's a question, then they're automatically going to have the mindset of, oh, this person's trying to learn more about my service, right? That's an easy one to just, that always pretty much hits and it's consistent. But if there's always like the fact that creativity and trying new things and testing new things is going to get you sometimes worse results, but also sometimes significantly better results. So I would have multiple variations of subject lines. And what I do personally is like 4 pretty proven subject lines, sort of like question, roof installation, question, roof replacement, question for owner. And then I'll try some more creative ones that I'm like, oh, I wonder if this might really snag their attention. It could be like kind of a more current, referencing something, current kind of subject line, just something that stands out a bit more, right? But what I want you guys to do are write 4 subject lines for your niche. Do that right now and then just drop them in the chat. And everybody should be doing this, following along, because by the end of this call, you're going to have full email scripts written out that you can then implement, right? So don't just watch, actually use, right? Go ahead and take 45 seconds to a minute just to write out those scripts, and then pick your favorite one and just drop it in the chat.
Yeah. And to touch on it, like, it can be creative and you don't always have to go under the guise of not being a marketer. One subject line that I have used that has actually worked pretty well is like new patients with AI ? Like, it's something that builds curiosity, and AI is a new big thing. So testing things out, but like your question and service, those are like your tried and true, you're gonna get opens.
Exactly. All right, just write out 4 variations of subject lines and put them in the chat. I want to see 30. Yeah. Question, dry needling, that works. Yeah, I want to see 30 subject lines in the chat, guys. Nobody should be slacking on this. Probably closer to 25 with the fathoms, but and try and put one that's like kind of creative. Try something thinking outside the box, like what Will said, using AI. It's a more current thing. We'll just scan those with me and see if you have a particular one you really like. Will you be my wife?
Are we all doing AI SEO?
No,
Okay.
this is for whatever service you're offering.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, and I like that a lot of you are implementing the sort of question mark, and it's helpful almost if the subject, like, it has to make sense. Like, you can't put gibberish, but like if they can't get the full picture of the email from the subject line, makes them be like, what? And then they open it, right? So that's always helpful. Brandon, I like, is your calendar booked out? That will get people that are, their calendar isn't booked out, but like that also comes across as more salesy. It's worth a shot, but I would have some that are slightly more subtle as well. Looking for
Yeah, that one kind of gives off marketing agency, not gonna lie.
Gloria, I like yours, looking for a gym.
Yeah.
Because it's like true, but their first instinct will be, oh, this person needs a gym. Are you free Tuesday? Yeah, I kind of like that, Brandon. That's clever. Okay, see, those are good. Will, do you have any that kind of stood out that you particularly like or were creative in your mind?
I don't know what Seth does for fulfillment, but he said had trouble finding your company. If that's for like SEO, that would probably be a pretty good subject line. Codings with AI, that's out there, different. It would work. The biggest thing is that, like, I can tell you what has a higher probability of working, but I can't tell you what will work. The people who decide what works is the market. So at the end of the day, my answer is always going to be test it. And once you have stats, we can look at that and make a decision from there.
And there's a reason you do 8 variations. It's so you can see what works.
But there's nothing that like stands out that I would just say like absolutely do not do that. Yeah.
Seth, yours was pretty clever. Had trouble finding your company. ... That's interesting. I like that actually. Clever. Okay, so those are good. I also like Gloria's looking for a gym. Though you guys are getting the idea there. So you're gonna want ones like that where it leaves a little bit of question in their mind. It makes them curious, and you're not coming across as a marketing agency. For those of you that were on last week's call, I'm sure you kind of saw the importance of angling your offer, right? So you could be offering the same thing as 50 other people, but if they're all coming in with the, hey, I'm doing Facebook ads, I'll generate leads, and you come in with the, I'll help your business grow, like it's a different offer and you're selling a result to them as opposed to a method, right? So I like the fact that you guys are kind of implementing that, which is making your offer sound different. Using AI to your advantage. I like that. Good stuff. Okay. So that kind of works for a subject line. And you guys obviously have some insight now on what looks good, but it looks like you all are picking up on that. So I think we're good to move on. Will, do you want to go over, I'll go over the psychology of kind of the hook, and then you can kind of give a few examples. So yeah, so for your hook, you're basically, they've opened it now, and now you want to catch them, and you're providing a bit of clarity, but it's like a really kind of, like what clickbait is on YouTube? It's like a thumbnail that is eye-catching and people click on because it looks really good. Sometimes it can overpromise, but it at least gets them to look, right? That's kind of how your hook works. And that's how email works a lot as well. You're often overpromising, and then on the sales call, you can manage expectations. But you have to keep in mind, you're trying to take someone who has no idea who you are or what your service is and get them on the phone with you. And like, I know some of you are like, man, I like struggle to book appointments. You have to keep in mind, like, how many emails have you gotten where like you actually get on the phone with those people? Like, it's not an easy thing to do. So you have to make sure that you're standing out. And that's why with a hook, you're trying to almost like clickbait them, if that makes sense. Thank you, author. I'm glad that you guys like the interactive side, because I think you'll come out with more after the call than just like listening and learning theory without implementing. But yeah, Will, do you want to give a few examples of a good hook?
Yeah, so I mean, it could go from anything, but like if we're going on like the question to service side, so like question roofing installation, like an easy hook is like, are you able to handle more roofing installations this month? Question mark. That's like a nice and easy hook. It gets them thinking, oh, that's like a $20,000, $30,000 thing. But even going into like, let's take some different ones, like the had trouble finding your company, ... Your hook could be something like, notice you were on the 4th page of Google. And then you could do SEO and transition into that. Other things are just kind of like double checking, is your business located here? That makes them think like, oh, they're trying to find out like if I'm in their area. Yada yada yada. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing I'll say is don't pitch an offer as much as get them answering in their head, right? This is something that I think we implement a lot in our emails, both me and Will, which is kind of along the lines of, could you handle another 4 roof installations this month? What do they think? Can I handle another 4 roof installations? Yes, I can. I would actually love some more roof installations. What do they mean? It's like, you're not saying I can get you 4 new roof installations. What does that make them think? How? No, you want them thinking yes, not how. You want them agreeing and basically investing in you as opposed to wanting to ask questions, right? Does that kind of make sense? It's like the psychology shift in how you ask it. It's similar to when Sergio says what questions you have, as opposed to do you have any questions, right? If you're going through a demo and you're like, do you have any questions? They're like, no, keep going. Or you're like, what questions do you have? Oh, what questions do I have? Well, it's like, you're, instead of like getting an automated response of, hey, how's your day going? What's going poorly with your day? Like, they're gonna think differently about it. It's in the framing of how you word it can change how they interpret it, if that makes sense. Exactly. Yeah, you're making them think and you're making them answer in their head, because once you get yeses rolling out, the next yes comes easier. You're picking up momentum, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's same thing here. Write 2 hooks for your niche, and obviously you can kind of make it generally along the lines of your offer, but like you can fluff it a bit, right? So let's say I guaranteed when I was starting like $10,000 worth of jobs in the first month for landscaping companies. I'll be like, can you handle 6 new hardscape installations? That's like $180,000, right? Now I'm not getting everybody 6 new hardscaping installations. It's possible, but like, it's along the same lines of what I did, which is generating jobs, but like it's fluffed a bit. So go ahead and write a few of those, and then drop your favorite in the chat and we'll look through those. Give you guys like a minute to kind of crank that out.
And the thing is, even if you fluff it, you can have just a higher level offer. Like those 6 hardscapes, David could just be like, yeah, it's 50 grand a month.
Yeah.
Like, if you want me to make you an extra, like you'll get 130 grand profit, you have to pay me 50K every month.
Yeah. And it's like, at that point I can get such high ad spend. Like, if you're spending like $400 a day on ads, like you're gonna get them some crazy results. Yeah, and Brandon, I would specialize that for your niche. So and I would almost say, yeah, would they interest you? That works. Would 30+ roof replacements interest you? Jonathan, I like what you're doing there, but there are things that make sense, but they come across salesy. That one comes across a little bit like advertising.
One thing I would say is like in the hook, I wouldn't actually mention any specific number. Get a yes. Like I would just say like, can you handle like, can you take on more replacements this month? And then you can go on, we're looking for somebody to handle 10 more, and then you could build that yes chain. But I think when you mention a specific number, it kind of blows your cover a little bit too early, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I've personally used a number there, but Will's also like, obviously you can try both. I've personally, like in the past, when I was doing cold email, I would say like 6 hardscape jobs. That's also because hardscape jobs are like the prime landscape service, and it's like six new hardscape jobs. Like that's a pretty tempting offer for a landscaper. So also obviously some of this is niche dependent. Well, let's look through these and see which of these either really stand out or we would change a little bit. W projects. Yeah, so Alberto, when for yours, I would kind of say, hey, I was looking with yours, it's like it took me a while to find your page. That's honestly a good hook for a slightly different reason. It's not getting them to say yes, but it gets them to acknowledge the fact that there was a problem, right? So Alberto is taking kind of there are multiple ways to get like, the same result. We're teaching a pretty consistently good way, which is to get yeses going in their head. But Alberto has a good point here, which is like, you're just getting them to acknowledge the fact that they do actually have a problem. So I kind of like that. It's creative. Could you potentially handle 5 solar and battery system jobs this month? That one's good. Could you handle 10 more replacements this August? Yeah, I like that, Christopher. 21. Author, are you able to take on 15 new patients this month? Yeah, Alex, you're right in the fact that if they have like really high ticket jobs that niche services, like all on 4 for dental, which is just like, leagues ahead of other offers, they can kill. Notice that you were in location. Did you yeah, James, saying like location is actually a pretty good one. That's another good hook because then it feels more personalized. So like I'm looking for I need a roofer in the 22180 zip code who can take on 3 new jobs locally, something like that. Yeah, have referrals been stagnant? That works because they're gonna say yes, they have. And as you might have some problems with show up rate to the clinic. Anastasia, I wouldn't say I noticed you had some problems just because that can get them like a little defensive, like, no, I don't have problems.
Yeah, it's like 2-sided. But I dropped down one more.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because sometimes, like, especially with doctors, and Will, do you want to you can
They anyways think that they're the best.
yeah, well,
Yeah, no. You also have to keep in mind the egos of the people that you're working with. Like roofers and landscapers, they have more like an honor type ego, where doctors typically have more of a superiority complex. And when you tell a doctor they have a problem, they tend to be in denial. So you have to get them to realize that they have a problem. You cannot tell them that they have a problem. So if you say, or even solution, like a solution for this, you're like, that's not a problem. I just want more of this. So you have to find ways to word things to get around their ego.
So
Does
then
that
it
help?
could be like, hey, I was just wondering if you have any problems with the show up rate.
I wouldn't even mention like problems. Like like
Or
for your hook, I would just be like you could literally just say, or do you work with chiropractors, right?
yeah, but
So you could just be like, hey, like, are
new
you
patients? They learn this. They know this number by heart already.
Yeah, so you could just say something like, hey, are you currently accepting more spinal decompression patients? And then, like, because if you mention a problem, there's no rapport, there's no trust there, they're going to be defensive, and they're just going to be like, I don't have a problem. Why would I want to listen to this person? They think they know me. They're a stranger. Like,
they also, yeah, Gloria, they're talking about close rates on referrals. They're clueless about the fact that like referrals aren't scalable and they're super easy to close. Alberto, are you willing to take some new clients from your competitors? That gets a little bit of a competitive like mindset going. So like, hell yeah, I am. Right. I kind of like that. And that's clever. And I like the creativity there. Mohammed, noticed that you were wasting your time finding new gym members, need help. That's a little bit like, I wouldn't say need help, because a lot of people are like, no, I don't need help. You need to keep in mind, like with ego, you need to come across as you don't like, don't say like, hey, you need me. Like you can get them thinking that later on the sales call, but just here you want to hit them with more along the lines of, no, you're wasting time. Are you sick of how long it takes to get to bring new members into your gym? Something like that, or find prospects who can afford your gym, something like that.
Keep in mind, it's just got to be a desire for them. Like, you know, like imagine you walk up to a stranger and you tell them every single problem you've noticed about them. They're going to be like, what the hell is this person doing? I don't even know you. But if you say like something that they might be interested in, so for example, for owners, they want more money. Everybody wants more money. If you can get them interested and you can hook them in with money, then when you're actually on a phone call with them, then you can actually maneuver that conversation to get them to realize that they have a problem and they do need help.
Yeah. Also, I'll throw one out that I haven't personally used, but like one of my friends, who's a really talented copywriter has put together, which is like referencing current things. Like there's some like, you know, the economy is kind of not doing amazing in the US, right? So he and a lot of business owners they overly worry about that. They overly care about macro as opposed to microeconomics and like how that affects them. And it's kind of weird, but like by leveraging that, then he was able to get really good response rates. So for example, are you interested in a system that can leverage the like slowed economy to your advantage? Basically making them be like, how the hell can I make people wanting to spend less money bring in more money for me? It makes them really curious. And it's timely because you're referencing a current event that's like affecting them and that they like are currently facing. Now the problem with that is that's difficult copywriting because you have to find the right balance of I'll also throw this out. 5th grade reading level first off, and then also being able to get the information across while, you know, also not boring them, not getting them to click away, right? So that's one little tactic you can implement as well and add to like make you more creative, is implementing current stuff. That also always allows you to get new content for your scripts, right?
So you also want to like basically build some rapport as you're doing the selling with them?
Yeah, and that's more important on the sales call, but you can, if you make it come across as like more current, not just a copy and paste email, by referencing something, that can be helpful. Also the other thing is 5th grade reading level. You want to make sure, I think there's an app or a website. I need to ask. Yeah, Hemingway. That's right. That basically you can check how easy of a read your thing is. You don't want to be using overly large words. You need them to be able to read this really easily and get your point across, right? Some of these people are just like glancing through emails on their phone. Another thing, just structure wise, and this is kind of off the cuff, but don't make your lines, yeah, we're not writing a PhD paper. Don't make your lines like blocks. Don't make them bricks of text. You want to space them out, have like 1 to 2 sentences max, and it kind of like almost aerates your email a bit, because they're like, it's not as intimidating as seeing a massive black, you know, block, right? You're looking at a kind of spaced out and easy to read email. What? Go ahead, Gloria.
Do you want to add like even for anything, not just email, like for ad copy, for even posting, like posting in like any way with copy, like you need like spacing out is like the new thing, like attention spans, like no one's going to read paragraphs. So remember that even in your ad copy, remember to space it out as well.
Yeah. My rule of thumb in cold email is it cannot be longer than 2 lines. If it cannot be said in 2 lines, it is too complex. Like you have to find a way to dumb it down and fit it into an easily readable and information gathering kind of format.
Yeah, exactly. And like Gloria said, attention spans are kind of an issue, and that'll really address that issue. Jonathan, go ahead. What's up?
What do you think of the ones I put? the hooks I put.
Let me see. Can you handle more users? Can your user base grow? What's your investment situation looking like? Are you revenue bearing? Those are almost more like subject lines than hooks, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I think the like, what's your investment situation looking like? That's like very personal. Like if I
Mm,
got a random email asking me what my investment like portfolio looks like, I'd be like, why the hell do you need to know?
got it. So,
Um,
'cause I'm targeting SaaS companies.
yeah, I understand, but I mean, you also have to keep in mind, if you got this email, would you open it saying, what does your investment situation look like from a random person? Would you open that?
Probably not.
Yeah. So,
So, what are your thoughts about lines that might be useful for SaaS companies as
uh,
well?
I mean, like can you handle more users? Like, let me think. I haven't actually written any copy for SaaS. So, can you give me some kind of like key points and I'll workshop it with you?
Yeah, for sure. For startups, a lot of them, especially SaaS startups, the first 1 to 2 years, they don't make any revenue. And they get some investment money, but they realize, oh shit, I'm not making money right now, so I got to get new investors. So they care a lot about getting new investors because that's how they're going to keep their company alive. And also, they got investment money and they really want to make sure that they spend it in the best possible way.
Okay. Investor opportunity, question mark, investor opportunity, ... Have an investor opportunity for you.
Okay. And what about hooks?
Okay, let's see. So they're looking and it's like, you could just say like, if you want to be really specific, because it sounds like you're going after startups, just be like, if you haven't even gotten past your second year, you're still looking at red, something like that. And you're like, shit.
Wait, say it again.
Like if you're not past your second year, we both know you're still looking in the red.
I see. Okay. ...
And then you can like insert your solution. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Do you have maybe one more example?
And it's just like, let me think.
For it.
Um, uh, you could also mention like, do you want to learn how to become profitable within your first year? Something like that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I was
Is
just
every-
in the comments too. Victor mentioned have ChatGPT write 200 of these. ChatGPT is a terrible copywriter right now, at least. It's probably gonna get better. We've tried it. Now you can with really intensive prompts get good copywriting, sort of, but you're always going to be a better writer than ChatGPT. It sounds super robotic. I would write multiple variations yourself and then say, hey, ChatGPT, based off of what I just wrote, write me 200 variations with this same wording, and then emphasize the type of tone and the goal with it. And then look through it and you'll find like 5 or 6 killer lines. But I'm going to be honest, 95% of what it writes is flaming hot garbage, at least for copywriting.
Is everybody good with the hook though?
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So,
quick question for the hook. Is that like basically the first line they read off your
Yep.
email?
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay.
it's right after hi.
Yeah. Keep in mind, it's like I said, it's a battle of one more. Like you're just trying to get them to do one more thing. If your first line sucks, they're not going to read the rest of your email. If your subject line sucks, they're never gonna open it. If your offer sucks, they're never gonna reply yes. So it's just a battle of making it good enough for them to do one more thing.
Exactly. Seth, who here has tried GPT-4? I have. It's obviously better than 3.5, but it's still not able to write on the same level of like someone who's actually like learned it. It's just because you're able to pick up on when something's written by ChatGPT, like it comes across as like a little clunky. And also it's helpful because you want to come across as human. That's something I think a lot of beginners don't use well. They're worried like, oh, I need to sound professional. I need to sound like corporate, right? And they like intentionally go for that. And dude, they don't care if you're like corporate. They want personalized help that actually gets them results. So coming across human and almost like using your own way of speaking in your writing can really help help make them actually believe it's a person and actually reply to your email, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. You can use ChatGPT to mimic your writing style and make variations. Go ahead, author.
So one thing I noticed in copywriting circles, essentially like your email, the subject line should kind of go like kind of hand to hand with your hook, right? Like they should kind of match essentially. So you can lead them to the sale.
Yeah, you definitely want your email to flow well. So it's your subject line can be slightly disconnected from the rest of your email depending on how misleading you make it, and that you can test different things. A different amount works for different niches. Generally, like if it's more misleading, they're more likely to open it because you sound less like a marketing agency, but they're also more likely to be pissed. So
And it's illegal.
Yeah, you need it to be like, you need it to apply to the rest of your email, but like you kind of like you're on that line there with the subject line.
You can't just say Kanye died, ?
Yeah.
And then try and pitch them something.
Yeah, although I've seen people do that. But yeah. All right, so now on to scripts and the body.
I want to take a pulse on this. We do have like a lot more scripts to go through. So do you maybe just want to go through, I can talk you through the rest of the script and then we can make the entire script and then we can reconvene and do interactive there so we can go a little bit faster.
Yeah, it is already.
Just put a 1 if you want to go faster, 2 if you want to take time with this.
We should go faster.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
We want to make sure we cover everything, but like I mean, yeah, we do
Okay.
to not take more than 2 hours. So, Will you want to go ahead and take the reins here?
Okay, cool. I'm gonna go through quick. So after the hook, you have kind of your deliverable. What are you bringing? That is why I typically say numbers come after. So this is going to be things like, you know, like if they can take on more patients, it's like, cool. We're looking for somebody to send an extra 10 whatever service patients per month. And then after that line, you would put an offer, or you can combine them into one if you want to do it like a little bit more advanced. So example of combining into one, if you're doing like pay per show, would you be interested if we could send you 10 Invisalign patients per month and you only pay per appointment that shows? Or the conversely would be like, again, like we're looking for one dentist to take on 10 Invisalign patients per month, and then you put your offer below that, and let's say it's a test drive. And we're currently running an offer where you can test drive the system for 30 days at no cost to show you it works. Did that make sense, or did I go way too fast? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Drop a 1 if that made sense. Drop a 2 if you're lost.
It makes sense. William, is it possible? Like, do you have it in front of you? If you could like share your screen, I feel like it'd be.
I do not have it in front of. Let me pull up one of my scripts.
Can you possibly just like break it down and go a little slower?
Okay, so there's your deliverable, which is typically what's coming first. You could combine your deliverable with your offer if you can make it concise enough. If you can't make it concise, you have deliverable, then your offer.
Elaborate on like deliverable and offer just so they can get like a like definition for both.
Okay, deliverable is what you are getting them. Like I can get you 4 roofing installations, 6 hardscaping jobs, 10 patients, 20 gym members. That's your deliverable. That is what you are going to be delivering to them. Your offer is the mechanism in which you provide it. So for like if you're doing a test drive, like that is the mechanism of that. So you're saying like, we're gonna do this, you can try it for 30 days for free to show you it works. Or if you're doing pay per appointment, your mechanism is, and you're only gonna pay per qualified appointment that shows up. If you're doing like AI SEO would be a kind of different script, but you know, you could do just like you could put a guarantee on there, or do a test drive. Like it's, does that make sense, or is that still a little bit confusing?
That made sense.
So essentially, after the hook, the rest of our email is going to be going into breaking down the deliverable and the offer, and like kind of selling them on like why they need it, or like just essentially selling them on it.
I wouldn't even say selling, it's just getting them to want to know more about it. Like if, for example, Gloria works with gyms, if I would say like, hey, I can get you 30 gym members every month and you only pay per person who shows up, or like actually like converts, something like that. They're gonna be like, that's really interesting. I get 30 extra people and I only pay when they give me results.
Yeah.
I would like to know more about that. Does that make sense?
William, you have your hand raised. What's up, bro?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thanks.
Yo, real quick. So I'm trying to change my offer to more of like a PIF type of thing. So would I test like 2 different variations when I like send out the cold emails? Because I don't do cold email. I just do cold calling, right? So
why do you want to do a PIF on the cold email?
Yeah, you get that.
No, so I'm asking like, what would you do? So like, okay, so
I would do a free, like free always, like free or pay per show, and like have a really strong offer, because cold email is very competitive. And you have it, like you have a pay per show offer and you're like, well, cool, you have to pay 10 grand up front and you have to meet all of these qualifying requirements.
yeah, so you're basically saying have a different front end offer and then back end just try and upsell them. All right.
But have the front end offer on your demo so it's still convenient, and they're like, oh shit. And you're like, but that's also why we have this. And then that's the actual offer that you want to get them on.
Yeah, because it's so different for me, because like on the phone, it's like a completely different, you know, I'm taking completely differently in cold calling. So like, you know, when I want to approach it this way, like that's why I wanted to ask.
Yeah, so you could even do like a test drive offer, and you could just be like, well, we'll get you 40 leads and then you have to pay me 6 grand to set up, and it's 2 grand every month after that. Or you can start today and you can pay for the next 3 months in full for 6K.
Got it.
Do you see how like it's still congruent, but you can still ask for the money because what you showed them, they don't want that, but then the other thing inherently looks more appealing.
Yeah, definitely.
And keep in mind, the struggle with cold email is getting them to talk to you. The struggle when they're talking to you is to then sell them, right? Don't think too many steps ahead with this. Like, you don't have to be worried about making sure they're fully aware of what your offer is and everything. Honestly, it's better if you are just kind of leaving some sort of questions in the air that they want answered, because they're more likely to get on the phone then. You don't have to worry about being like, hey, we have these 2 offers, we'll do this and this for this one and this for the other. No, you're positioning yourself in the best possible light. You're face tuning your photos. Like that equivalent is what you're doing with email for your offer. Like, you're making it look really, really good. And then you can kind of explain a little more once you're on the call of what it actually will look like, right? And that's that comes down to sales skills to handle that. Anastasia, what's up?
So it's happened to me a couple of times. People on intro call, like on demo call, they ask me like, but what about the email that you sent us? So what do you do in this case?
That's why you have the actual offer that you provided on the email for congruency's sake. And if they don't like the offer, then you have the actual offer that, like, you make the offer something that they wouldn't want. For example, like talking about the 6 hardscapes, like that would be 180K. They could just be like, well, we can guarantee you 6 hardscaping clients or jobs per month, but you have to pay me 50K a month.
And $400 a day in ad spend.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then they're going to be like, shit. It's like, or you can just sign on for 2K a month and we'll do this, this, and this. Like, you have to have congruency. Because the second they see that there isn't congruency between what you said on the email and what you're pitching on the demo, you lose every bit of trust, because they're like, well, they said one thing and they're not even showing it to me, because they're trying to like bait and switch. You're just removing all of your trust, and you're not going to get a sell like that.
But for example, if you're promising like then 30 appointments in 30 days for free, and you like,
Yeah. Then you just say like 30 appointments
but
in 30
if
days.
it's free,
Yeah, then you say, after I get you those 30 appointments, then you pay me 10K.
Yeah.
Because you're making 30K, so you're tripling your money and you only have to pay me a third.
okay.
And
Yeah.
then but they also have to cover ad spend. It's like
Yeah.
free is a relative thing.
Yeah.
Also,
And then
don't use the exact word free, by the way, on emails. It's
it's a spam word.
It's free. Yeah, I was about to say, isn't it flagged on cold emails?
at no cost,
At
for
no
no
charge.
cost. Yeah, at no charge.
But it means that it's free.
Yeah, but you can't say free. Free flags your emails and it hurts your deliverability. We don't want that.
Google will be like, hey, this person's spamming. You don't want Google against you. Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
I put 2 deliverable plus offers down. So what are your thoughts? Like, which ones do you like more or less?
Okay, RAA system can get paying users.
I feel like it maybe could be less lengthy a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It could also be more about them. Instead of saying like RAA system, just be like,
we could implement a system.
Yeah.
Like put it in.
You can get paying users on autopilot in 30 days without having to work.
Oh, okay.
Like, the thing is, like, they do not care about you. They only care about themselves.
True.
So the more you say what it's going to do for you, and you tie it back to them, the more they're going to like it.
Got it.
When you say they're like, I don't give a shit. They could care less. And honestly, at the end of the day, they could care less about what service you do. As long as you're making them money, they're happy.
Got it.
For the most part.
Unless, bro, also, like, I saw a post today and like it kind of rang true. You have to realize some of the people that are getting on the phone with you are going to be those like $500 a month clients who are like, how's this going to change my life? Like, you need to make sure you deliver. Like, these are like the broke people who are like, I'm entrusting my future to you. And then it's like those higher paying clients that are like, yeah, I just wired over 50K.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's like part of like the thing you have to keep in mind is you almost don't want those like cheap brokey clients. The ones that pay you very little are often the most demanding ones. So just like don't get too bummed out when you got like if you get those people on the phone. They're always looking for a magic bullet that solves everything that costs nothing, right? That's why they're on like that's one thing that you'll run into a lot, and just be prepared for that.
Are we all good on this? Okay, cool. So diving into the next part, I have a little psychology trick. Again, it goes along with building the yeses in their head. I ask them if they are interested. Like, I'll say possibly interested. Are you interested? Would you be interested? ? And this is something where they get a verbal confirmation in their head. So they're answering yes or no. So that makes when I do the call to action after it, it's easy. So I just say, you can reply with yes if you're possibly interested. If they answered yes before, they're much more likely to go through with a call to action because they've already admitted that they are. Does that make sense?
It's the same.
And then it would create an incongruency if they say that they're interested and then they don't reply.
Yeah. And it's like like we said, momentum, you're getting the ball rolling in their mind of, yes, I could use more appointments. Yes, like I am struggling with this. Yes, I would like a free system that fixes this problem for me. Am I interested? Yes. Reply yes if you're interested. It's like they're not like I've run into this like actually kind of recently. One person that said yes to everything and then on a sales call and then just said no for no logical reason. But 99.9% of the time, if they say yes to everything else, they're not going to be so illogical that they then say no out of spite for the fact that you're trying to help them, right? Get them saying yes in their head and they're going to reply with a yes.
Okay, is everybody good there? I think that's pretty basic.
Yeah. Then do you want to go any farther on that, or do you want to also cover?
Yep, we'll just cover legal stuff. So if you do not properly sign out your emails and leave an opt-out, you can get sued for $50,000. We don't want that. So you're just gonna do, after you do your call to action, it's gonna be a sign out like best regards, thanks, thank you, yada yada yada. There you go. Yeah. Name. So the sending account name, your business address, that's for legal, and an opt-out for legal.
And if you don't have an LLC, you can just your home address.
Yeah.
I personally put a virtual address because I don't want any psycho landscapers coming to my house, but I'm kidding. The odds of that are like 0. But yeah. Also, this is not legal advice. Consult with a lawyer, blah blah blah. But but it's worked for us. And I actually got threatened that someone would take me to like what was it? Well,
the attorney general.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, like I complied with all the regulations. Like, what are you gonna do?
Tracking opt-outs, you just have a spreadsheet with your entire list, and you create an unsubscribe list, and you put them all in there, and then you remove duplicate, go out.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Is it everybody good on cold email?
What if
questions do we
I
have?
lost part of the people who said no for some reason? Like
if-
I was taking out leads from Instantly, and I've uploaded new leads, and I lost those leads who said no because conversations got deleted.
Change your offer, and then they said no, and the person who's
So if they say,
say
no,
no.
if they are saying no to new offer, it's fine, right?
Yeah, if the only time
I'm always doing only new offer, but use same leads.
no, if so there are 3 things that will get a person to remove them, for me to remove them from the list. Stop, unsubscribe, remove me from your list, and then I'll remove them if they don't apply to my list. Like if they're like, for some reason I get vets in my dental list, so I'll remove the vets because I'm not trying to get to them. But if they say not interested, if they say no, if they tell me to fuck off, they're still getting emailed.
Oh no, it is considered like it's okay, right?
Yeah, they didn't say stop. They didn't opt out.
Okay, nice.
slightly edgy, well, whatever. But yeah, that's a good point Will has. Also, if you switch up your offer, you should be.
No, I always send the same, like to the same person, but always different offer, different subject line, and I usually don't mention
I mean,
anything noticeable that could replicate the previous email.
An offer should last you for a while. Like an offer should honestly, like, unless you're blasting through your list every single day or every other
No,
day.
I mean, I'm
like,
not changing the offer, changing the wording.
I mean, you can send the same email out. Like sometimes I would send the same script out for like 2 to 3 weeks when I was sending about like 3,000 per day. And it kept its efficacy. Now, like when I sent out 30K a day, a script's dead in about 3. So the less you're sending compared to the total volume of the list, the longer your scripts are going to be effective, the longer your offer is going to be effective. So you don't have to change that up as frequently. And you can just think about it like emails are like a paid ad. They can see it the first time and it could be the same wording and they're not interested, but the third time they see it, they'll finally click on it.
Emails the more organic version of paid ad.
We can do dumb stuff in Photoshop.
Do what?
We can do dumb stuff in Photoshop.
Jonathan?
How do you separate, like, let's say they say no, and how do you separate the people who say stop in instantly, because it only gives you not interested?
So I don't track it in instantly. I track everything in an Excel spreadsheet, which I have so you put your unsubscribes on the top of the list on top of where your emails are. And then when you remove duplicates, it just removes all of them. So yeah, I just take everybody who says stop unsub, remove from list.
So it's a manual thing. It's like there's no way to
Yeah.
automate it.
Yeah, it's manual, but it shouldn't take too long at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, other Jonathan Chamberlain.
Yeah, I'm using the Sales Navigator to scrape emails and send emails to people. And I've sent like 2K so far, and I've gotten literally 0 replies, just only out of office replies. So, like,
You're working with SaaS, which is a little more difficult.
Yeah,
But Will, you can kind of.
I mean, so there's two things that could be happening. Either one, your deliverability is bad, which could be entirely possible, and the second is your subject lines just aren't interesting enough.
like it says I'm getting, like, on one campaign I sent like 1.3 thousand emails and I got 650 opens.
You don't want to track
Right.
opens.
Is it? Are you sending from Gmails?
Yeah, Gmails.
Yeah, that is tanking. You're probably
What
just.
about, I'm sorry to cut you off, but what about tracking open rate at the beginning? Your emails are even hitting, or people are even opening them in the first place.
If
What's
you
your
have a
opinion on that?
If you have a 1% reply rate, they're hitting the inboxes enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't track open rate at all because you're landing in spam, Jonathan. That's why you're not getting replies.
I'm surprised because it seems like so many people open them. So
Yeah.
that would make me think that they're not.
I mean, or they just hit mark all as read. But I mean, like, think about it. You're sitting with a tracking domain that the same guy who tries to scam your grandma by being the Prince of Africa for a hotel room.
Got it.
Like that's the equivalent. That's the reputation your email has.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that.
Okay, I'll turn off that. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Chris, did you have something you wanted to ask?
Yeah, well, having the word commission in there like ruin the deliverability at all, or it won't affect
Like, what's the context?
well, in my body, I have the word commission. It says on a complete commission basis. You think because that is
I would
kind
just
of
say on a complete pay on results basis.
Yeah.
okay. Think
Or performance.
Yeah. Pay on results, I think, works pretty damn well. Yeah. Any other questions, or are we good to keep going?
Yeah, so just to recap for cold emails, essentially, we just wanted to flow all together and just to like kind of get them to get onto the intro call. That's the whole point of like cold email, essentially. That's the only thing. Okay.
Not even to get them on the intro. Your only goal is to get them to say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you actively call them to get them on an intro.
Okay, so it's kind of like a sales principle. Like you mentioned, like to get them to say like a series of yeses in their head. So essentially you're building a yes ladder throughout your whole thing, through your hook, through your body and everything.
Yeah. And once they say yes, you know they're interested. You can call them, you can do whatever. But it's like the whole thing, like when you're on an intro, you're not trying to sell them. You're trying to get them to book a demo. That's your goal.
Right.
With cold email, your goal is just to get a yes.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks, guys.
See with calling them, just one thing, do you just track all like the calls you've done on a spreadsheet? Because I had like a lot of positive replies that I've started to lose track of them, like on who you've called and stuff like that.
Yeah. I would just create a positive reply follow-up sheet. Put there, so you could do like date, the account that sent the email, the person's email, follow-up dates, follow-up times, and then like when you call them.
Also, following up with those emails, like I can confirm from personal experience that like the follow-ups are where you get appointments booked, because like even when I'm the one who's being sold to, like I remember early on Sanders Stage, his like course, I didn't actually end up using it, but I was getting like emailed by them, and like I like didn't answer like 4 of them, and then on the 5th one I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like tell these people like I'm no longer interested. And it's like you eventually will answer it. Like you're like, oh, hopefully they just don't email me again, or you're like, I'll get back to it in a second. So then follow-ups are where you like force a yes or a no, which is important because you don't, maybes are like the most annoying and most useless answer you can get. A yes or a no is always more helpful. So keep that in mind.
Cheers. Is everybody good? Drop ones if you're ready to get moving on to the next.
Also, Gloria put sent from my iPhone. That can help because it comes across as more human. So that's valid. Looks like everybody's rocking with it. So we can get to the next thing. Do you want to Will, do you want to go straight to cold calling or to
I think we should just do a vote. We should let everybody pick what would be more valuable for them.
okay,
Cold
do you-
calling.
Yeah, cold calling or following up with leads from email. So like when you call your leads, how you handle that. Which would you guys prefer?
Following up with leads.
Follow up with leads.
One is follow up with leads, two is cold calling. That's a pretty straightforward one. All right, we're gonna do following up with those leads, which is that's a pretty under like sort of touched subject, which is like how do you once you get that positive reply, because it's like it's straightforward in the fact that yeah, you just call them, but like how do you want to go about and angle that? So I'll just kind of touch over a few psychological points. Will, you can do that, and then we can get into the more nitty gritty of it. But first of all, speed to lead, as Marquez always says, that's important. So you get a positive reply. If you have their number saved with it, then like go ahead and just call them like using their instantly contact. If not, just copy and paste their email into Google, and you're going to get a result where you can like easily find their number within like 20 seconds, right? Then you're going to call them twice because people don't even notice like first time calls. Like if you get a spam call once, you're just not going to answer. If you get called twice within like a minute or two, you're going to answer it. Victor, I think multiple calls bypasses do not disturb.
Yeah, that's why you double dial. The second dial bypasses.
Yeah. And so you're going to want to call them as soon as possible. And then it's just about kind of a gentle frame, because you don't want to come across as pushy and they're going to be a little bit like, they like responded quick. Like a few things I do is I'm like, hey, is this blank? You get them to acknowledge it. Yeah, who's this? Hey, yeah, this is David. I think we got in contact over email. You sounded interested in potentially getting some more jobs this month, landscaping installations. Does that sound accurate? And generally they're going to be like, oh yeah. And then you're going to go from there. You're going to be like, okay, great. Is now a good time to chat for a second, or would it be better if I called you back this evening? Basically there you need to get out of the oh, I gotta go objection. So you're getting them to either commit to a time to like 15 minutes right now or 10 minutes right now, or commit to a time later where you can call them back, right? And then if they do have time, then you're going to take them straight into an intro call from there. If not, then you're going to confirm a time later, ask them, is there any reason like you wouldn't be free now? Is there a better time I could call you? Generally, they're gonna be like, no, like this works. And then you're going to call them back at that better time. Again, double dial that second time. It's preferable that you're able to just take an intro on the phone right there. Anything you want to kind of like add on the over high level view of that, Will?
No, I think you covered most of it, but if people would like me to kind of give an example of what that would look like and kind of like deferring it off into the different subsections, I can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, go for that.
Okay, cool. So when you call them, a simple thing, it's just like, hey, is this name? Like, is this Mr. Prospect? Like, yeah. It's like, cool. So I saw that you replied to an email, sounded interested in, our pay-per appointment offer. Is now like a good time for a quick 5 to 10 minute chat? And if they say yes, you just go into the intro and you grab the thing. It's like, well, us on these calls, if you're okay with it, is if you can provide us some context on your business, where you're at, what you're looking for, that'd be great. And if we believe I can help you, then I'll walk you through everything we do and answer any questions. So you've just automatically grabbed the frame, you're going straight into discovery. Smooth transition. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And what do you have to ask, Anastasia?
Yeah, are we talking about people who replied to the email, or
Mhm.
we're talking about just cold calling?
This is people who replied, and this could be for DMs too.
Yeah, you're just, once you get a positive reply, then you need to call them as soon as possible, because what you don't want to do is just reply back and be like, great, book a time for an intro call.
Yeah, for sure. Can we use the same thing for just cold email? Oh, sorry, cold calling.
I mean, you can, but that's a gray area.
Like,
Like,
because, for example, to pass the gatekeeper, because sometimes they pass you down.
I've sometimes used that personally.
yeah,
I'm like,
I mean, you can.
I had an email conversation with John like a few days ago. Is he in? He asked me to call him at this time. Oh yeah, what's it about?
Even if you didn't ask.
Yeah, I'll sometimes use that.
Okay.
It's just up to you. And you know, there's no.
Because I just realized, because sometimes even if I have booked call, gatekeepers still don't. They still gatekeep me because the owner didn't tell them like, hey, she's gonna call us. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they'll just they won't let you through. Sometimes they will. It honestly, like cold calling is a little bit of a game of chance. It's like, yeah, maybe that'll only work 50% of the time, but what percentage of the time will saying, hey, I have a marketing offer for John. Is he free? Like that's like a maybe 2% success rate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you have gatekeepers, most of the time, they're not going to let you through. Like I'm in dental. When I call positive replies, it's very not worth it. Like most of the time, the gatekeeper shuts me down. Like I'm like, I literally just had an email conversation. He just replied yes.
Are you leveraging cold calling or not at the moment?
I'm not doing cold calling. I haven't I did cold call to start with. I'm actually planning on testing out some new cold call stuff starting next week. So I will have some more information on that.
Okay, thank you.
What's up, Kieran?
Yeah, I was just gonna like David, because you're in the niche of like contractors and things like that. See, for intros, like I was so used to just ringing like 2 hours a day, like in cold calling at a specific time. But see, for like, say if you just have so many, like I have like 20 plus leads that I need to ring, but I was just too busy or whatever. Do you just ring them literally just whenever you get a chance, or do you set a time, like blocked out where you just ring them as much as possible, or?
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting 20 plus leads a day, like try and call them right away. If you can't though, dude, like 20 plus leads, like generally they'll pick up the phone, and it's like I'm fine with like sometimes with my schedule, I just have to call like leads like 2 days later, and it's like not ideal, but if you're getting that volume of leads, like you know, you're
not per day. I mean, it's probably like total right now, but yeah, that's what I mean. I'm like falling behind and calling them and stuff like so. I had to like literally just turn it down.
yeah.
Fuck it.
No, I would continue to pump out emails at the highest rate possible. Just like if you're still not getting, I would still pump them out as high as possible. Like if you just can't follow up with some people, like that's a better problem to have than like too few responses, right? Because let's say you get 20 replies, but only 10 of them pick up, even after double dialing, then like it's still worth it. And it's like, this is going to be how you're getting people on demos with you. So like, this is literally the most important thing you could be doing for your business. So like, don't make calling leads a second priority, right? Until you're past 10K a month, like, and you've got systems in place, that needs to be your kind of number one go-to priority is like calling those leads, even though it's not fun.
Yeah, and you tell your clients to do the same thing. You tell your clients to do the same thing. Why aren't you doing it? It's kind of, it needs to reciprocate,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem. I think it's just the time zones. I need to get used to it because it's usually a bit later, but then I just need to stop being a bitch, like, and just keep dialing.
Yeah.
I think you should, they're going to talk about cold calling, right? David and William, you guys are going to talk about cold calling.
Yeah, it also kind of depends on what you guys want with like time, but we have calling stuff.
Yeah, I'll let you just continue, sure.
Okay, yeah.
So I recommend cold calling CRN just for confidence reasons, but I'll stop talking.
Yeah, I mean, if you're also calling like instantly leads, it's similar to cold calling, except for that they're interested. So it's like cold calling with leverage, right? That's kind of how you can think of calling instantly leads. It's like these people literally told you they're interested, so it's like they can't just be like, yeah, no, we're not interested. Like they can, but it's less than likely if they replied yes.
Are you saying that there's some sort of way to get their phone number based on their email?
Yeah, just copy and paste it in Google.
It should be with your list.
Yeah, and you can like if it's not, like if you have like with D7 you have numbers, but If it's not, like, you can literally just copy and paste it into Google, and because it's like a specific email address, they'll generally have that listed on their website or their Facebook, where they also have a phone number.
Got it. Thanks, man.
So is there a better, like, I don't know if you guys have tested it out. Is it better to get them to book a call with you, or is it better for you to call them? Is there like differences in that?
Yeah, definitely better to call them, because if you just send an email saying, hey, book a time, like, I do that as well as call them, but like the odds of them actually like going onto your calendar and booking a time, it's like they're very low. You'll, with like 2,000 emails a day, you'll maybe get like 3 or 4 booked appointments a week, whereas like with calling them, if you're sending like 2K a day and you're getting a decent response rate, you could get like 4 to 5 intros in a day.
I mean, it depends on niche, but I mean, some people will book through calendars and some people will book through phone. It honestly depends more on the person. And that's why we cover both bases. That's why we call them and we follow up in the emails.
Gotcha. So do both regardless, but definitely
Yes.
call them immediately just to get that one out of the way.
Yeah.
When I set up the Facebook lead forms, I have it so they book an intro. So should I change that so it's like booking a demo, but then I call them before it happens?
Yeah.
What happens if you run out of time though? Then you're going to have a demo that ends up being an hour. And what if you have demos back to back?
That's honestly, I will, like, in my opinion, that's not really a problem, because if the intros, like, if he gets that, like, that's a good problem to have, stack demos, right? Like, I've done this before where I'll have like, especially when I was like closing for Dylan and I had like 12 calls just like in a row that were 30 minutes each. It's like within the first 15 minutes, I can tell if they're going to close or not. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, man, unfortunately, it looks like this isn't good for you. And if it's like, this person is going to close, I'm like, I just don't get on the call with the next person. It's like, if I'd rather ghost a prospect and close a deal than, you know what I mean? So they're like, that's a problem for future you, but that's a good problem to have, which is being like overly booked out with demos.
Got it. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
My opinion's a little contrarian to David. I think intros are where the sales happen. So I would prioritize having higher quality intros than being scamped for time. But I mean, what David does works and what I do works. So it's up to you and it's personal preference. It's
also like, I like did a call with actually both Jameses that are on the call right now with Will, and we like covered this. We had different situations we were working in. So I was in a position where I was taking like, over 10 calls a day. So it's like I had to go fast. Whereas like with Will, he was able to, because I was closing for someone else who was running ads, right? With Will, if he's just going through his emails and it's just for his niche, and it's also doctors who are like harder to close, Will has to take more time with it. So you kind of have to see what your situation is. And I would prioritize, if you only have 5 a day, like make sure you're giving those due diligence. But if you're like booked out, like then pick and choose your battles, sort of like it's okay to miss a call with the next prospect if you think you can close the one you're on.
Yeah. All right. Is everybody good? Am I good to continue down the line of what would happen if they said no to a quick 10 to 15 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So the next thing I do is because a lot of people love to lie and they say they're busy when they're not busy because they actually just don't want to have a call. So I proceed to ask them questions, and these are just questions in their situation. So I will just go with myself for like dental. I work with Invisalign. So I just be like, hey, do you have a dental practice? Cool. Do you do Invisalign? Cool. And then I just keep asking questions and I just go straight into the intro. Then I ask them situation questions. So what's your biggest problem? Or not even problem, like what's the whole situation around getting Invisalign patients right now? And then you keep opening them up. And some people, they're just going to keep answering because they really didn't have to go. They just wanted to get out of the conversation. Does that make sense? And then if they say that they really have to go, then you're like, cool, completely understand. Let's just go ahead and get a time booked in for a call so we can, save your time and my time from having to chase each other down, and then just get them booked in. Does that make sense? It's a pretty simple, you get them to confirm. If they don't confirm, then you ask them questions and try and push it into an intro. If they can't do that, then you book them.
What if they say like no?
If they don't want to book,
Yeah.
Yeah, can you
then
hold
it's
on
like,
there real quick?
yeah, then it's like, well, I don't think that I would just randomly be available to have a call. So it's like, you know, either we can get a call booked in, but like, if they're not going to book a call, like, why,
Why should we chase them?
yeah.
Okay.
And like, why care? It's like one person. Like, you work with chiropractors, there's 50,000, 60,000 chiropractors. And like, why cry over one? There's 59,999 other ones that would pay you and won't make you chase them.
And it's like with that case, it's like you have to think about it in context. It's like this person won't even give me a time to have a 10-minute phone call. Is this person going to pay me $2,000 to run ads with them plus have weekly calls updating? Like, no. It's when it comes down to it, it's like negative responses early on is just I mean, unless it's like you're really bad at sales and you like come across as just like scammy, but like negative responses early on, if you're like a half decent salesperson, it's like that's just a sign that they're kind of potentially just lazy and don't want to have to get their own appointments booked. Plus they just like replied yes, but they would never actually work with you, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, why even try with
There's
person?
one last thing you can do, and this is one thing I pull, but if they say they don't want to book a time, then I'll just be like, all right, cool. Well, do you know anybody else that would like to add an extra 20K a month revenue to their practice? Like, could you let me know? And they're like, oh, 20K a month. How would you do that? And then you can push them into booking a time.
Exactly.
And then if they don't want to do that, then just
Yeah,
move on.
then they don't really.
Yeah. James, what's up, bro?
Hey there, yeah, no, it's just a quick question, like regarding when you're saying go to the intro, and like, do you still push those like yes questions rather than just asking all those long questions all the time? Like, do you just like drop little gems where you get them to say yes all the time? It's basically what I'm trying to like.
On the intro, no, like I don't yes stack, and it's more so the intro is you're just being a therapist and you're getting them to realize that they have a problem that they've been in denial about for a very long time.
Yeah. And so with the intro, that your offer is not even coming up. It's intros are literally all about your prospect. And I think of it as stacking up reasons. Like you're taking, like, you basically want to walk away with 2 to 3 very like obvious pain points that you can then be like, hey, you told me this, and this were an issue. Here's how I can solve them on the demo, right? You're just getting to know why they could even use your help and how you can position your help as a solution for them, right? But
yeah, gotcha. That makes more sense, because what you're just basically saying is when you're asking the yes questions, is it just like there's no point wasting time when you can just genuinely just go for pain points? Is that what you're trying to say?
My best intros, they're talking 90% of the time, right? Like, I don't want to be talking much on the intro. It's literally like, hey, so can you kind of give me a broad overview of your business? And this is very short. So like, obviously I speak a little more personalized, but they're like, yeah, we get in clients through referrals, and yeah, we're doing all right. Okay, so what's all right looking like for you? Could you elaborate on that a little bit? Yeah, like 4 to 5 clients a month. Okay, and is that all through referrals? Yeah. And you just keep probing, getting deeper and deeper, where you keep asking questions about their reply until they give you a full reply, right? Now if they're like super like stagnant and they're like, I'm not going to answer that, which you get sometimes, it's like, first of all, that's a red flag for like a potential prospect. It's like, if they can't even tell you general numbers in their business, it's like, this is probably not going to work out. But you're just trying to get them to elaborate about what they do and learn a little more about them, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually, David. Yeah, appreciate that, man.
Yeah, 100%. Will, do you want to? Well, how are you guys feeling about like following up with leads right now? Is there any kind of questions on that, or anything you guys are lost about? You guys are chilling right now. Okay, so then just going from like the intro, which we'll go a little more in depth into the intro in a second. But let's say you take the full intro, and we'll go over like how you want to frame your intro. You then want to try and take a demo there or later that night, right? So you're like, once you go through the intro and you've gotten their pain points, you've gotten them acknowledging that, you're like, hey, so like, I really feel we could help you. We have an offer that basically has worked for people in almost your exact same situation. I would love to walk you through it. Is there a chance you could get in front of a laptop and do a Zoom with me where I can actually show you the exact steps to how we would solve this problem? And if they're like, nope, I really can't. Then you're like, okay, when's a good time tonight to potentially sit down and chat? I'd love to walk you through everything. And kind of show you some ideas we could implement for your business, something like that. Doesn't come across overly salesy, and it's like you're really pushing for as soon as possible getting on a demo, right? And Will's right, time kills all deals. It's like they are most interested when they reply to your email, and then after your intro, it's like you want to keep all that heat retained, right? You want to keep those prospects warm. But anything you want to add on that, Will, and then we could actually go into some intro frameworks.
Yeah, again, like just push them through the system as fast as possible. You're much more likely to close somebody an hour after they say yes than 3 days after they say yes. So like when people book intros with me, I only let them book at most 4 days out. At most. And when they book a demo with me, the most I'll let them book out is 2 days. Because I don't want them getting cold, but I'm always pushing for as soon as possible. So when I take the intro, the first thing I say is like, do you have an extra 20 to 30 minutes to do this right now? And then if not, I push for later that night. If not, I push for next day.
Exactly. And that's important because like you have to realize that there's a reason that salesmen try and get the sale on the call, because that's when people are most interested in buying, right? Because they're invested in it, and there's like the certain amount of excitement and adrenaline, and their mind is in the framework of this is how this could help me, right? And they're going to start getting doubt. They're going to start being like, how do I really know I could trust this person? Maybe I should Google them. What does their website look like? And those are honestly irrelevant for the service you're providing, right? You're providing a, ad service generally, or maybe an SEO service. It's like, you don't want them judging you off of your website. You're not a website designer. You want them judging you off of your presentation and the solution you can provide, right? And that's all provided over the phone or over Zoom. So you want to try and get them onboarded over the phone or over Zoom, right? Anastasia, what's your question?
William, you mentioned that you are booking them after demo 2 days out. Should we close on the demo, or we have to book them to close again?
Close on the demo.
You should close on the demo. Some people do genuinely actually have to think. I have had somebody who is like, hey, like I actually need to move money from like one marketing service that I'm doing to work with you. And after 2 weeks, they paid me, which is very rare.
Yeah.
But like you have to handle it in logical order. So like if they don't want to pay on the call, then I'm asking them situation questions like, so when it comes to big decisions like these, would you say it typically takes you like, you like to think on it for like a day? I'm like, yeah. And then that's their actual thought process. So if you're pushing them in the moment, they're going to be more resistant and less likely to buy from you.
Okay, because I thought like, why are you scheduling people after the demo, like to close them?
No. I'm saying from the intro to demo. Like I don't schedule them. If they need to think about it after the demo, then yes, I schedule a call with them. I'm saying from intro to demo, they only have 2 days. I will only let them book out 2 days.
Yeah, okay, makes sense then. Thank you.
And I would also add to that, like, yeah, getting them to pay on the phone is pretty important. And then if they're like, yeah, no, I really need to think about this, send me an email with details. I'm like, yeah, for sure, I can do that. what would you like in the email? Like, I want to make sure I actually answer your questions that you like in the email. They'll tell you, well, I want to see this, this, and this. Yeah, okay, I got you. So you want to see case studies to make sure it's worked for me and for people in the past, and then also you would like to see some numbers. Okay. Actually, I can just pull up a case study now, and then you can address. You just got by the smoke screen by asking that, right? Often booking out or like getting an email in the future is just a smoke screen. So you have to keep that in mind. So that's something important that you want to keep in mind. Like, smoke screens are pretty common, and you need to be able to bypass this.
What are smoke screens?
That's when someone says, oh, let me think about it. What they're really thinking is, I don't trust that this person's service is going to work, but they're not saying that. They don't want to give you a hard no on the phone. They just want to reduce as much awkwardness as possible, and just like ghost you after the call, right?
Mhm.
So a smoke screen is basically them lying about the reason they can't buy right now.
Oh yeah, actually, this is a good question there in the chat. Like, I need to look over the budget.
Yeah. Then I'm like,
Because yesterday I got like, I need to like assemble the numbers if it makes sense for our practice.
I often ask on the intro, so to get you from point A to point B, I need to first understand point A. With that said, how much do you think you could invest into marketing and these services knowing that you would get a return on it? And then they'll give me a number before I even take them to the demo. So that's about qualifying. If after that they say they need to move numbers, that is often a smoke screen. And then you're like, okay, you told me that you had, 2K you could invest. Could you kind of tell me what numbers you need to move around? If they really do need to move like money around, then I'm literally straight up with them. I'm like, okay, let's schedule for later tonight, after you move those around. And I just want to be like straight up with you, man. Like, oftentimes when people say they need to move numbers around, they're just not looking to buy. And I'm busy. I've got a lot of these calls to take because a lot of people want this service. So if you're really not interested, man, like, no hard feelings, and we don't have to move forward. If you actually just need to move numbers around, then yeah, I can set up a call for later tonight and just make them be honest with you. Like, and then
Okay.
and right before they get off the phone, be like, yeah, man, and you're not going to be one of those prospects who just ghosts me and doesn't show up to our call, right? I'm sure like, those people are the worst. Make them commit to the fact that they're like, yeah, those people suck. Like, I'm not going to be like that guy. Like, make sure that they are not going to ghost you, and be direct about it, because like, call out these people's bullshit.
Yeah. Another way you could handle that is you could just be like, if they say that and it's like, price aside, it's like, if you could get this for $0, do you think that this would actually be able to help you get to where you want to be? And if they say yes, then it's logistical, like they're not uncertain in you. It's like, okay, like, I understand that you need to look it over, and I know that I can help you. So like, let's work through it together, and let's find like a price point that'll work for you, and we can get you up to a point where you can pay my full price.
Another thing I'll do is I'll get a deposit, right? Which is like, I'll be like, look, we have 4 other roofing companies in this area that are interested in moving forward. I know you said you need to move some numbers around, but you are interested. If you're really interested, then let's just put $100 down now, or $500 down now. We'll reserve your spot. And then worst case, if coming back the numbers don't work, I can refund you. But I just want to make sure that we actually have some commitment here, and I can tell these other prospects, look, like, we're already working with someone. If they're not willing to put down a $200 deposit, they're not genuinely interested in the service, right? Like, yeah, 2K is a lot of money, but if they can't even put down a deposit that's like, $200, unless they're mega broke, in which case they're never going to be able to afford 2,000, then they don't trust you, right? That's another good thing to use, which is like the deposit / schedule a time method. That all making sense, because those smoke screens are like the worst to deal with. Like, I hate them, but you can't let these people like give you the false hope. Yeah, they're gonna follow up with me. Like, you need to make it clear with them. Yeah, I'm glad it makes sense, Turkle. And you want to make it very clear with them that, hey, like, I've dealt with this before. Like, I'm not new to this. I know what a smoke screen is. Like if it's a salesperson, I'll literally call it a smoke screen. With like solar people, I'm like, look, man, like we both know that if you get off this call, you're not gonna like call me back, and we're not doing business. So, money aside, let's look at this. And then if they're like, yeah, no, I'm genuinely interested. All right, man, let's get a deposit down now, and then we can move forward tonight. Something like that. Your odds of them showing up if you have a deposit go up exponentially. Yeah, Victor and James and Christopher. Victor, go first. What's up?
Hey, David. How do you guys transition to the demo?
So once you finish your intro, you call up your lead. Let's say they're like, yeah, I got 10 to 15 minutes. You go through the intro, you get all the responses you need, and then you're like, look, if they're interested, like I got a solution for you. Do you have some time where you can just sit down in front of a computer and I can walk you through exactly what we do and how we get you solve this problem for you? You just try and take the demo right there. If they're like, no, then you're like, all right, does tonight work? You just basically schedule them in for a demo as soon as humanly possible after that intro.
Yeah. I can kind of elaborate a little bit further. Like whenever I do it, I'm just like, instead of me rambling on about like the results and, the way our system works, I'd rather just show you, and walk you through everything visually. And we can hop on a call. It's going to be around 20 minutes. Like, do you want to do that? Like, let me know where you want to go from here. And then I give them a way out. So like, if they say no, like that's the perfect time for them to say, no, I don't want to have a call. If they say yes, they're actually interested.
Makes sense, because I've started with no shows recently a lot.
Yeah.
And that's a solution. Thanks, Will, and thanks, David.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, James?
Yeah, hi there, guys. I think it's like when you was talking earlier, I think let me whip it up. You said when it comes to big decisions like this, do you usually take time to think about this? Like, do you use like the Andy Elliott method where you go, I didn't give you enough information for you not to think about it, and then like send over any details to make it like easier for them, or what?
No, I mean, like typically when I address that, and I like there are other ways to go around it. Like sometimes I'll just be like, so like you typically take 2 days, and I'm like, okay, so like be honest with me here. Like, how much time are you actually gonna sit down and just think about this? Like, you're telling me you need 2 days. Are you gonna like sit there and set aside an hour a day to genuinely think this through? Or like, are you just not interested in this? And you're just calling them out. Because like most people, when they say I need to think about it, life's going to get in the way and they're not going to think about it. They're going to go have problems at their job. They're going to have relationship problems, and they're going to completely forget about you.
Yeah, sure. What do they usually say after that?
You'll either get an honest answer or you'll get more smoke screens, which then if you get an honest answer, then you can work with them. If you get more smoke screens, you have to keep pulling back the layers.
And what would be like the average smoke screen, would you say?
How do you mean? Like the smoke screen in itself is I need to think about it.
Yeah, what would you usually get after that if they say like something negative?
And they keep giving you that thing. Like they're either going to stand their ground on I need to think about it. And at that point, you can only push so far. And if they stand their ground and like they actually need to think about it, then I'm just like, okay, let's go ahead and book like a follow-up call in 2 days.
Okay, then, so usually they'll just be like, oh no, I just need to think about it.
I'll add to that. I even ask them what they need to think about. Oh, I need to make sure it makes sense financially. Okay, how long would that take? Like what sort of numbers do you need to go through? Oh, like I mean, we got all these expenses with employees and I need to check the money going out and coming in. Okay, and how long would that take you to kind of do? Oh, an hour or two. Okay, so do you think we could just meet back up tonight, get the situation sorted sooner rather than later? Just because I got a lot of calls I gotta handle, and I really want to, get to know if I can either help you and you're interested in moving forward. If not, man, like that's totally fine, and there's no hard feelings. I make sure that they like don't feel like I need them, and they're like they have to kind of commit to the next call. Like if you call them out and you're like, you're not going to be one of those guys that just ghosts and says, I need to think about it, and then never shows up or never texts me back, right? And they're going to be like, no, I'm not like one of those people. If they're like, yeah, no, I'm gonna do that, then you're like, all right, man, we're just not fit to do business. And then any competitors you want to recommend me to, and then you just like, that's pretty much burned. Like if they won't even like commit to another call with you, they're not gonna close, right?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Cheers, bro.
Yeah.
Cheers, bro.
Chris, what's up, bro?
Yo, so whenever I've called up the leads, like after they give me a positive response, and I'm going through the intro, and they're like, yeah, I'll hop on a call, but can you just tell me your price real quick? And they just keep insisting on like me telling them the price. And usually I say like, it really just depends what your needs are and how we can meet them, what you need from us. But even after that, they just keep insisting like, tell me your price now.
Yeah, so what niche are you with? Roofers?
Roofing. Yeah.
Okay, I don't really know roofing offers that well, but I'll tell you what I do with landscapers. Yeah, so if someone needs an estimate on a job, and let's say they just want the lawn mowed, but another person wants a patio, right? And they say, hey, just tell me on the phone, like, come take a look at my yard, see what needs to be done, and then give me a price estimate. Oh, and like, how much is it going to cost? Well, you'd have to go look at the lawn first and look at their yard and see what they even need done before you can give them an estimate, because mowing a lawn costs $40, but installing a patio costs $30,000. It's like, I've worked with people who are spending, less than 500 a month on this. I've worked with people spending over 30,000 a month on this. I need to know where you're at and find the perfect plan for you before I can give you a price. Does that make sense? And if you put it in terms they understand, they're going to be like, yeah, no, okay, I got it. Like you can, yeah, you want to put it in terms they understand. That's honestly one of my go-to methods. If they give you an objection, like just flip the script. It's like, let's say I'm working with a solar person and they're like, yeah, let me just think about it for a day and then I'll get back to you with a decision. Yeah, so John, if you're talking with a homeowner and they say, let me think about it for a day and get back with you with a decision, what do you think the odds are that they're gonna actually get back to you with the decision? Probably not great, right? And then if they're in solar, they're like, yeah, no, not great. Yeah, so generally what I like to do is, I mean, if you really do need to think about it and there's something in the way, whether that's you need to make sure it's in the books and in the numbers, I'm more than happy to get on a call with you, man. But I think we both know just how annoying and how difficult it can be when prospects ghost, right? And I don't want to waste my time following up with you, and I don't want to waste your time by continually texting you about something you don't want. So just be straight up with me, man. Would you like to actually look back into this and set up a time to call going forward? Or is this just not for you right now? And then like with that, like when you explain it like that, they're not going to just, unless they're like absolutely like the most indecisive person in the world, like they're just going to be either straight up or they're going to ghost, right?
Yeah. So like in your niche, you would just say like, if somebody calls you on the phone, you've never seen their house and they're asking for like a new roof and they're like, give me an estimate. What are you going to say? They're going to be like, well, I need to go see the house because like I have to see what's wrong before I can tell them how much it is going to be to fix it. And you're like, right, that's exactly what I'm doing here. And I need to see how I can best help you so I can give you a price. And they're gonna be like, oh, okay. And then you keep asking questions.
Yeah, thank you.
But if you just like say like it's custom, they don't understand that.
Yeah, put it in their terms.
So essentially you're just aggressively taking on their objections and like don't leave any page unturned, essentially.
Yeah, I wouldn't, it doesn't even have to be aggressive. It's just get them to realize that if they were in the same exact situation, they wouldn't like it happening to them. They wouldn't accept it. So then when they realize that they wouldn't accept it, it's incongruent for them to expect you to take it otherwise.
Yeah, and I think also what you mean probably by like aggressively taking on their objections, like you're like directly calling out that there's a potential smoke screen there, which is like, I do agree that's true. Like,
yeah,
if they're throwing up a smoke screen, then just call it what it is. Hey man, like I know that this is like, especially if they're in sales, bro, like we both know that if someone says they need to think about it and they'll get back to me or send me an email with info, like they're generally just not looking to move forward and I'll never hear from them again. Like you can just straight up call it like it is and they're going to respect you more for that. And you're not gonna have to deal with the absolute like monster of a problem, which is like a ghost client. It's just such a time drain, bro. And it's like you can't just remove them from your list, but like you never know. You know that there's like a 5% chance they end up becoming a client. I much rather get a yes or a no than a maybe.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, people are so indecisive, and that's basically the whole point of doing the whole process, right? Get them while they're hot.
Any other questions from there? I mean, we're getting close to the end, so I think what we probably want to do now, and you guys drop a 1 if this sounds good, drop a 2 if you want to do something else. I'm thinking we just go through a few other questions, and then we'll drop the scripts in the chat, and you guys can all kind of get access to that. But you know, drop a 1 now. Was this helpful? Like, I hope this was, and that you guys got something out of this.
Or after everybody, type in a 9 if you want us to, where we go over the rest of the scripts.
The part about following up with leads, like calling them right away, that was super helpful.
I'm glad it was helpful.
And A/B clause, like having 2 offers, one for free and the setup fee, and then just with a regular offer that you want to pitch them.
Good. I'm glad you guys got something out of this. And was the interactive kind of helpful, like where you guys were actually kind of more involved? I know that lecture styles can be good, but like when you're more involved, you're more engaged, and it's more applicable to you guys. So I was hoping that might be kind of another benefit. And if you guys like these, me and Will continue to pump these out, you know, weekly, and you know, try and continue to provide as much value as we can. Good. I'm glad it got you thinking, and I'm glad you guys were able to kind of hopefully get something you can literally apply tonight into your you know, outreach and closing. Good. Awesome. I'm glad that it worked out well. We're obviously, you know, continuing to try and hone in exactly how we can help you guys the most. You'll start charging too. No, we want to make sure we at least keep these group ones free, because dude, like honestly, me and Will were both in the position where it's like when you're starting, man, it's tough. Like you've got so many questions, and like the feeling of being overwhelmed, like we were both there. And you know, you guys are champs for taking on the challenge of running an agency, and we want to be able to provide as much value as we possibly can. We'll be uploading this on the YouTube. I'll try and be quicker with it this time. I've been overwhelmed like the past weeks, and then like sometimes I'll be like a week late at uploading it, but I'll upload it and drop the link as well, so you guys can watch the recording. And in the last 10 minutes, like I'd love some ideas of what like future kind of videos would be and calls would be most helpful for you. Like anybody have something that like comes to mind, like this would really help, like this topic, whether that's mindset, managing, you know, time while running an agency. What exactly would be helpful? So like a sales walkthrough. Okay.
I think it'd be super cool if we were put into breakout groups, and then we could role play with one another for like intro calls or demo calls.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. That would be really awesome.
Okay, that's awesome. And call reviews is definitely something we can do where like honestly, like me and Will can go over with calls that go well, that can be good, but also sometimes going over like calls where we miss, and we can like say, hey, look, we did this right, but here's where we messed up. That can also help.
From my experience, you learn a lot more from calls that miss than calls that hit.
Yeah, because you know, that's where the value is you have to analyze your performance there. So honestly, like me and Will can find some of our, and if you guys want to see like calls that go through as well, like that works too. But what we can do at some point is get like a few of our calls where like potentially it seemed like it was going well and it didn't close, and kind of run through what went wrong. That might be helpful. Breakout rooms, I love that idea, because then you guys can interact with each other, and we're able to get this community kind of, I really like the sales group we have, and it's like a pretty sick community in there. Like y'all are killers with it, and like I know each and every one of you is putting in the hours. So to kind of get you guys potentially even partners within that group, where like maybe like Muhammad and Jonathan are like, you know, they're keeping each other accountable and making sure that they're following through, and then, you know, Turkle and James are like making sure that each other is hitting their goals. You know what I mean? Like it's really helpful because Will and I do that for each other, right? We're both at very similar spots in our agencies, and we keep each other accountable. And like, dude, like the amount of value I get from that relationship is insane. Like it's awesome. So definitely want to get you guys like kind of partnered up and get relationships within the sales group going as much as possible. Mindset and time management, I think that's a useful one because that's not covered that much. I know mindset, like people hit it, but time management is one thing that like when you're starting an agency, you have to either have another job or have something else you're doing until you like know you can get that first client, and then your agency is self-sustaining. So it's like there's like that balance of I can't underwork in my agency, but I also need to keep other things afloat, right? So that could definitely yeah, go ahead, Anastasia.
Okay, so the thing that I'm like wishing to have an accelerator or somewhere else is when you come to the group, like not just the breakout room where people talk to each other, because everyone will be unintentionally make it easy. But when one lead will just pick people from the group, like 10 people are sitting in the room or on a call, and you pick randomly one and you give them the objection. And until they hit the objection and you will like genuinely say yes, you will not like move forward. So this is gonna be a real thing where like you're gonna be handling objections, because it's coming from my bank work. We have to offer financial products to people, and it's sometimes hard to like offer people who has like 300K in their account. Like starting from the counter, you have to persuade them to book an appointment with an advisor to put their money in investing or I don't know, warehouse account. And you have to make it, otherwise you will not make your goal. And then consequently you will be fired. And you have to hit the units. And here is like the same thing. And me and my manager at the bank, we are doing like objection handling, and we do role play. But we are, like me, myself only, not the whole team there, but myself only. I role play with my manager directly because he takes me seriously. Only when people take you seriously, you can really handle the objections. Because when you're handling your objections with a friend, it's not the way like how it really works. When you're talking to the person with an authority, like for example, I talk to you. If you push me with the objections, I will try to find like a way how to reply to them.
Yeah,
and it will make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like that. Basically,
but it's like specifically to beat people with the objections, like, no, I don't want to do this. Why it costs so much? Explain me how you do the process. If I will pay you like 50, if I'm paying $50 to my other chiropractor, then I'm in negative rather than positive after your service, because I will have to pay you. So then what are you gonna do here? I'm not getting a profit. Why your service is better and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or would you rather everybody on here can give me and David objections and we would show our thought process on how we handle them?
Honestly, both. Like, because you can learn from like watching that. And I think objection handling is one of like Will and I's strongest points, is like we're pretty good at breaking those down and handling that. Honestly, like sales is what we're best at within like the agency game. So we can definitely show you how we utilize that ourselves. And then after that, have practice between like where we offer the objection and you have to handle it. And then we can analyze that. The other thing I'll say is, guys, like be more active in the group. Like I want to see, like I've seen some people post and there's like 3 or 4 likes. like we kind of intentionally don't let everybody into this group because we want to keep it high quality. So you can know that everybody in this group is serious about the agency game, that they're going to put in the effort. So dude, if you're struggling with something, like DM another person within the sales group, in like, if they're not helpful to you, like, I mean, first of all, come on, man, like help each other out. Like you get what you put in. But secondly, like you have so many opportunities for like building relationships within this group that like you should be taking advantage of that. Like obviously drop things in the group chat, post things within the group, but also just one-on-one reach out to each other, share thoughts that you have. After this call, I hope to see every one of you sort of similar to what Amin does. Like I want to see you guys put in the chat, or the sales group chat, what you learned and something you're going to implement. It's good because one, that makes sure that you actually take something away. And also I want to make sure you guys actually implement this into your agency, because without you guys using this, Will and I are just wasting our time, right? We're doing this because we want to help you move forward with your agency. And if you take what we show you and you use it and you test it and you learn from it, it's 100% worth our time, right? So definitely want to see that. Kieran, I know you have your hand raised. Do you have a last question to kind of go, and then we can say our closing remarks, and then we'll call it.
No worries. So that guy, the American guy, who apparently closed, but I don't know if I'm gonna go ahead, to be honest, because I think he's a nightmare. Bringing up complaints about the contract and stuff. See, with the way you guys do it in the US and things, do you just usually get contracts and things signed on the call, or is it just like, how do you know?
I send it after. The only time they get the contract before they pay is if that's the only way that they will pay. But you have to just, when you take payment, you have to make payment seem like the next logical step. So it's like, next steps, we're just going to go ahead and do the payment. Do you want to put that on a Visa or an Amex? So it's like assumed, and they're like, oh, this is what normally happens. And then it's like, cool, after they pay, you're like, so we're going to go ahead and get an onboarding call scheduled, and we'll get the agreement that just outlines everything that we talked about in this call sent over to you by the end of the day.
What if they want you to sign their contract and not sign yours?
Well, they're working with you. Just be like, you're working with me. Like, you don't get to outline the terms of what I'm doing for you.
Like, you work with solar, right? Tell them, hey, if a homeowner said, hey, I'll write you a contract for our solar, would you take them up on that? Like, no, they're a homeowner that wants your solar installation. You're not gonna have them write a contract for solar. It makes zero sense, right? Like,
yeah, I've said that to the guy. I honestly think he's just
Recording in progress.
So I might just move.
Okay, I just
that's basically it. So it's definitely different in the US compared to the UK. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, US is probably open to try things, but they can be asses about things sometimes. And shout out to Author. Like, I've been seeing, like, you're putting a lot in the chat, man, and like you're insightful. And everybody here has been putting a lot in the chat, and I like that, and I want to keep seeing that. But guys, share your insights. What you put in the chat is also helpful to everyone else in the group, right? So
yeah, bro. Honestly, just 1 point. Like, you, David and William, you guys have been sharing so much, and you guys have been dropping so much value. Like, I'm about to catch the bug myself. Like, I'm about to start just dropping stuff in the Facebook and try and do like live calls with the team here, like just to get people doing better on cold calls, and just trying to close on their demo calls as well. Just like, key sticking points and whatnot. So yeah, definitely be looking forward to that, yo.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm
Help
glad
each other out.
Yeah, and like, guys, each and every one of you has stuff to add, stuff you can learn from each other. And like, I'm learning new stuff from you guys as well when we talk, like new ideas and stuff. I think Alberto left the call, but he had a hook that he wrote that I was like, huh, that's a really good idea. I never thought of writing a hook like that. Like, you guys can constantly be learning from each other. And the nice thing about such a tight-knit group and knowing everybody in it is serious about this, like, you guys can really like genuinely share and know there's going to be responses. And I want to see you guys responding to each other helping each other out. Like that's what motivates me and Will to keep doing this and keep providing, as much value as possible. So with that, I hope that this made a difference for you guys and that it's going to help you out this coming week. And I'll post the link to the recording, which I'll put on my YouTube. And we'll continue doing these week by week. Just keep your eyes peeled for the next link, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Thank you, bro.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Peace out, man.